Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber with Everyone Loves Guitar. And today, for all you people that suffer OCD or that revel in your OCD, you can complete the Snarky Puppy triangle. I have the third guitar player from Snarky Puppy on the show today. It's my pleasure to have Chris McQueen with us. I also had Bob Lanzetti a while back, and then Mark Lettieri quite a while back. Chris has been playing, writing, and recording music since '94. He plays guitar, as I said, in the 3-time Grammy-winning band Snarky Puppy, as well as the gritty instrumental quartet called Forq, F-O-R-Q, and the world music group Bokante, that's B-O-K-A-N-T-E. He's also worked as a sideman for Lizz Wright, Banda Magda, Lucy Woodward, Nikka Costa, Myron Butler and Levi, Alejandro Escovedo, and other artists in Texas and New York. Man, I was sweating those. I thought I would butcher one of them. I don't know if I did them good, but I like they're acceptable. He's also been featured in several rock musicals over the last decade, most recently David Bowie's Lazarus at New York Theater Workshop, featuring Michael C. Hall. We'll talk about some of these too. And the Rocky Horror Show at the Dallas Theater Center. Man, when that came out, I grew up in New York City, and we used to go down to the 8th Street Playhouse and see Rocky Horror at midnight.
Yeah.
And it was so cool because people would go and, like, at the wedding, they'd start throwing rice and toilet paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. That's all part of it.
Yeah.
And the live version too.
They do that too in the theater?
Yeah. Some of the people, wild, the real fans, some of the, like, serious fans will come and do that. And then there's like the sort of like regulars that have season tickets that are very confused about, like, what is happening around me right now.
Well, this was kind of radical because it was like the late 70s. So that wasn't really, there were like a lot more rules back then that you sort of,
Totally.
It was really cool. I remember that. He's also designed and built the Guitar Note Atlas, which is an app for iPhone and iPad to help guitar and bass students learn the fretboard. And I'm going to talk to him about that today. He grew up in Austin, Texas. He started playing guitar and recording songs on a 4-track Tascam around age 10. At 13, he joined a band called Redheaded Stepchild. Great name. A Western swing kid band, and he started gigging around Austin and learning how to solo from bandmate and guitar prodigy Will Knack. This interest in improvisation led Chris to study jazz, and he joined and wrote for his high school jazz band, and he later attended the University of North Texas to study with Fred Hamilton. He eventually played in the 1 O'Clock Lab Band and wrote a piece that was recorded for the Lab in 2006. He remained in the Dallas area for 4 years after college, co-leading the regionally popular band called Oh So Closo, another great name, with singer-songwriter Adrian Hewlett, and he was studying music with Bernard Wright and other members of the Dallas R&B, jazz, and gospel scene, which we've talked about on this show so many times. It gets so many great players have come out of that scene, man.
Yeah.
Oh So Closo performed on stage in the Who's Tommy at the Dallas Theater Center, and they released 2 albums. After they broke up, Chris and fellow band member Danny Garcia joined with singer-songwriter Cade Sadler to form Faux Destroyer, which produced 1 album and toured for a few years. Chris still lives in Austin today with his wife, Erin. Aside from gigging and recording, he writes sheet music for Snarky Puppy and others, and he's created arrangements and sounds for the new musical called Bunkerville. He's also been working on an upcoming solo album, and he plays in an original acoustic guitar duo with fellow Austinite Matt Reed that released its debut album called Western Theater last year. He's also been producing videos for his app Guitar Note Atlas, which will be receiving a major update this year and finally coming to Android devices. Awesome. And like I said, Chris is one of the 3 guitar players in Snarky Puppy. The other 2 are Mark Lettieri, who I interviewed in episode 219, and Bob Lanzetti, who I recently interviewed in episode 325. You can find all those on iTunes, or if you go to my website at everyonelovesguitar.com. Chris, you got enough side hustles here, man. I'm very, very impressed, dude.
Yeah. Well, you got to stay busy. You got to diversify your bonds.
Diversify your bonds. That is like literally the funniest. My son turned me on to that, and like we just play it randomly in the house. It's like very childish guy stuff that my wife doesn't really get, but that is hilarious. Anybody wants to know what I'm talking about? It's like Wu-Tang. Just look up Wu-Tang Financial Advisors, and it's hilarious. Anyway. Yeah. This is going to be a good interview. Talk about your app, man. Guitar Note Atlas. Like, what is that, and what prompted you to create it?
So it is an iPhone app, and basically, it started as like a web app thing that was born out of basically just a desire to use it for myself. Like I was the way that I first started learning guitar from my first jazz teacher. He would write out scales with basically a diagram of the fretboard, and it was horizontal instead of like the vertical way that a lot of guitar books draw chords. But it wasn't tablature; it's just like dots, like a diagram of the fretboard. So that's the way that I learned. And he had this thing where he would do like a empty circle for the root, and the rest of them were filled in dots. And it was just a very like clear system. So that's how I thought about scales forever. And I just like wanted, like, I would be like kind of obsessive, so I'd like write them all out, like, okay, here's Mixolydian, all the positions, and then like here's Aeolian, all the positions, whatever. And at some point, because I've always been like kind of a nerd, I was like, it'd be really cool if there was a way to just click a button and like decide which of these notes I want to see. Like, what if I want to make a scale that's like totally unique, like 1 flat 2 4 5, and that's the scale. So basically I just made this web app and like kind of got obsessed with it, and kind of just sort of through a process of Googling and trial and error figured out how to make that. So that's still on my website, and you can use that one. But yeah, so then after a while I was getting kind of nerdily into iPhone stuff, and it occurred to me that I could maybe make this happen. And I tried to learn for a while, and it was just way too difficult. So I hired a developer to help me figure out the Objective-C coding language, and basically like had her do some part of it. But then to save money, I would like go in there and tweak it until it finally looked exactly the way that I wanted it to. And in that process, I kind of learned how to do it. So now I'm basically rebuilding it from scratch with Swift, which is this other coding language that's like slightly easier. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm in the process of rebuilding it and updating it and making it better, adding sound to it. And then I'm going to also do the same thing for Android.
So you're doing all the coding yourself?
I am now, yeah.
That's a lot of work, man.
It is, yeah. Although it actually, I mean, it gets easier. Like the number of hours that I spend banging my head against the wall to figure out how to solve one little problem gets a lot fewer and far between these days. So that's good.
But so let me ask you this: every time iOS makes an upgrade, do you have to? Is there some adjustments required on your end?
Yeah, I think it depends. Like sometimes it depends on how much they change, and like, yeah, a little bit. But I think so far, like nothing has stopped working. So I think everything that's in there is like at least compatible with the new stuff. But that is part of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's called Guitar Note Atlas. Where can people get it? On the App Store?
Yeah, the App Store.
That's awesome. I'm going to check it out myself because
cool. Yeah, let me know what you think.
Yeah, I will. Very cool that you did this, man. Really cool. Has this turned into some other side hustles for you?
Not yet, but I'm kind of like, I've got some other ideas for apps, so I'm kind of toying with the idea of actually just starting a for real company with bundling some apps together and trying to get some of that stuff out the door. So we'll see. I mean, it's like, it's kind of a crazy, it's not unlike making albums where you're like, you invest so much into it at the front end and then hope that anyone cares about it eventually. So, like, it's not exactly a hustle, but it's definitely like a fun, cool thing that I enjoy. But
this is selling, so now it's you've got proof of concept already.
I think so, yeah.
That's great, man. That's really good. Congratulations. That's really awesome. Very impressive. Rock musicals. How did you get involved in doing those, and how is the work in that different from other writing and performance work?
Yeah. I basically started that so that was the first one I did was with that band Oso Closo, and it was kind of just like the right place at the right time. It was actually a friend of Michael League's who was a friend of the person who was in charge of getting the band for this musical, but it was like all the stars aligning because it happened to be the first musical that was going to be done by a new director who had a whole concept of kind of like using a real band. Like, let's not do the typical thing, which is to hire like sort of union musicians and they kind of like sit down and they read their music. Like he would run around the stage in full costume and do this whole thing. So we were kind of the perfect band for that because we also, you know, because I was going to music school, I knew how to read music and interpret arrangements and explain it to other people, and you kind of like meet all the criteria. We'd show up on time, but we also like were a rock band.
Show up on time.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Most musicians I've interviewed are incredibly responsible like that. You know, contrary to like I think what the public might think.
Right. Well, I think the public perception of musicians is, you know, like the kind of stuck in like
Motley Crue from the 1980s or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that kind of stays forever. Or maybe like Led Zeppelin destroying a hotel room or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you know, variety of factors have gone into that. That's definitely not how any of the musicians that I know operate, because you basically don't ever get called again if you fuck up too much.
Yeah, totally.
Or don't show up on time or don't know the music. Yeah.
Totally. So where was this first one? Was the first one done in Dallas then? Yeah,
it was the Dallas Theater Center, which is basically the biggest theater in Dallas, and it's well funded and it's really great. They have they have really amazing facilities and great people working there. So it was super fun. They had this like whole concept for the show that involved the stage being covered in water at some point, like halfway through the show, which makes everything more interesting when you're trying to do a live show. And there was also like a big pinball machine in the middle of the stage
for Tommy.
At some point. Yeah, exactly. So like he's playing it like sort of dramatically, and then at some point in like during the show, I like jump up on there and like rock a solo on top of the pinball machine.
Oh, that is so. You know what? That's what they did in the movie, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
The movies, well, it was like, I saw the movie, I think probably in the 70s or something like that. It's pretty back there. But I'm almost positive because I remember him standing there and then, or maybe it was, maybe it was, yeah, it was really good though. The whole thing was great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome movie.
So how did you like the whole experience?
It was amazing. Yeah. Doing a musical is so cool. It's like, you combine, when you're playing a show, there's like already a lot of energy there. And then when you do something like a musical, there's like all of that combined with lights and sound and drama and words and, backstage people throwing clothes and tearing clothes off of people and throwing other clothes on them to get them out in time. There's like all of this like intensity that happens and it just like, covers the spectrum of entertainment. And you're a part of this thing, especially in that situation, because I've done some other musicals where it's more typical and you're just like, you kind of show up, you play your music, you go home. But this is like a totally different vibe where like you're really part of this team and you're all doing it together. We were in costume and we were on wireless. So we have 3 wireless things. We had wireless instruments, wireless microphones, and wireless in-ears. So we're like all suited up and like running around the stage, being part of this like, 60s orgasmic thing. And it's so fun. You have this family that you're a part of for like 2 or 3 months, and then it's all over and it's just like this weird nostalgic moment in time. Super cool. I feel like doing musicals is definitely the most intense show that I've ever been a part of,
because it's so much in such a short span of time.
Yeah, it's like you have this whole family that you like share all these inside jokes with, and it's as if you were in a band with them for your whole life for a couple months, and then it's over. And like, that part of your life is only a thing that you know about.
When you led me to think about another question. So when that thing ends, everybody's kind of like sad, I guess, that it's over. That bond that you guys, that's like done.
Hopefully, that's in the best case scenario. The worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is when a show doesn't go well, or people don't like certain aspects of it, and you're just like, can't wait for it to be over. That's that's also a possibility. But the good version is when everyone is so excited about it and then like crying when it's over.
So let me ask you this: is that the same when you do a tour, like with Snarky? Like when you guys are on tour, and you're such all really good musicians, which is like, I mean, I can imagine it's one of the, when I talk to the band members, it's just the utmost respect for the talent of other band members.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When a tour ends, is that a sad thing, or you'll be getting back, so it's not that sad, or?
Yeah, I think because it's like this ongoing, like sort of part-time marriage that's like, as long as the band's still there, we'll always be together. So right. Yeah, there's always going to be the next time. I mean, it's definitely, there's definitely some like, tour is over kind of emotions, but yeah, I'd say it's always kind of like, all right, cool, on to the next thing. And, see you next time.
And you guys all work together, or not all of you, but many of you work together on other, like Bokante, other projects and stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Goodbyes are always sort of like varied, because it's like, cool, I'll see you in a week, see you I don't know when, see you in 2 months.
Yeah,
you have to like think about, okay, when is this guy going to be on the next tour, right, with that band? Got it. Yeah, it's yeah.
As a kid, your first band in Austin was a Western swing band at a young age. I was curious, what about Western swing turned you on at such a young age?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't get into it for that. It was basically, so the way that happened was I started playing guitar at home when I was like 10-ish, mm-hmm. and I didn't play with any other musicians for years. I basically would I got a 4-track. I convinced my dad to buy me a 4-track Tascam recorder, because I learned about overdubbing. And I was like, oh, then I could write songs and record myself again. At 10, you were thinking along these lines. Yeah. Dude, that's pretty impressive. 10, maybe 11. Yeah. So I don't really remember what specifically inspired that, but somewhere along the way I figured that out. Probably my parents said something about it. But yeah, because I was writing little songs and I just thought it would be so cool if I could also record myself again doing other parts. So basically I spent a couple of years just being an in-home singer-songwriter producer guy in my own little way, but I never played with anyone. Yeah, it was super. I mean, actually it was really, really helpful to get a personal connection to music. And then at some point, I just was dying to play with other people, and I didn't have anyone else in my life, in my friend circle, that wanted to. So, I think my dad found a brochure for a rock and roll summer camp called Natural Ear Music Camp, which is run by Michelle Murphy in Austin. And there's one called, there's a couple more now, but at the time it was kind of this brand new idea. So I went to that, and it was super cool the way that she did it, because it's they put you into bands right away. So you get there and on day one you're in a band now, which is for a 13-year-old, you're this is the best day of my life. Yeah, I'm in a band. So cool. And you pick what songs you're going to play. And then and at the end of the week, you have a real gig at a real venue in Austin. It was either Schultz's Beer Garden or Green Mesquite, one of those two. And, but yeah, so you have this for real gig, you play your 3 songs, you sing, you rock out, your family's there. And that was an amazing experience. And then after that camp, she called me because she liked, I don't know, thought I was good enough to join this band that she put together, for, not just during the summer, all the time, called Redhead Stepchild. So it was, and I think there were maybe some previous versions of it, but this was the most long-lasting version of the band that existed, with Will Knack as being kind of kind of the feature, because he was like a super talented guitar player. He was a year younger than me, but he was like way ahead. Like I transcribed like all these amazing, you know, guitar players and could play them all back. And so yeah, the band was kind of like, it was kind of Western swing, but it was also kind of oldies. Like we played Johnny B. Good, Carole King, and Everly Brothers. But yeah, I learned how to like harmonize, sing lyrics in front of an audience, you know, play parts accurately, improvise a little bit. So it was like super good for all of these basics of being in a band.
That's so cool. And this was at 13. Now I bet when that thing ended, that was nostalgic and kind of sad.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I mean, of course, like any band, it got sort of complicated with, you know, emotions with, you know, I don't even really remember that well. I think at some point we like were kind of rebellious and we were like, we don't need a manager. We can do our own band. We're like, you know, we're old enough. And so we had a whole like kind of falling out for a little bit. And then we tried to do our own thing and then eventually kind of dissolved. But, you know, by that point I was already trying to sort of forming bands with other people in high school.
Very cool, man. Austin is, we talked a little bit before we started the call, such a rich music town. I was curious if you had some like local musical heroes there that you followed as a kid or even now.
I mean, yeah, definitely, you know, Steve Ray Vaughan was mega for me as a kid. And, you know, used to watch his videos and listen to his albums. And, but also like Ray Benson, Asleep at the Wheel, which we ended up playing. I think we played like one gig opening for them as Redheaded Stepchild. And it was a pretty awesome experience.
That is cool.
At the Broken Spoke. Which is like, Broken Spoke is like now this like tiny dwarf of a building in between high-rise apartments and, you know, multi-use whatever that is being built now down, you know, South Congress.
So it's the same all over. Same,
yeah,
same as Austin as it is all like in New York and everywhere else, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's like one of the few holdouts that's still hanging out in Austin. Wow. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But I mean, I will say that probably my bigger musical awakening as far as like learning from older people was more like in Dallas after, or, you know, kind of late college and after college, more so than in Austin, just because, I don't know, I was kind of too young to really go out that much.
Sure.
Even though we did played some gigs, you know, we Redheaded Stepchild played a lot of gigs in town, and some of the high school bands I played with played some gigs, but really, like right after high school, I left and went to Denton for University of North Texas. And so the real like maturing came from the Dallas music scene for me.
Totally get that. Hey, you've been involved in so many projects. Would it be possible to pick like 3 top experiences and why they were so meaningful to you? Like either because maybe your role in them, the work you did, or the hang, or the you know, the experience that who you were playing with?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I just did this musical called Lazarus that you mentioned, which is by David Bowie. And Inda Walsh was the writer. And it's, yeah, I would say that was definitely right up there. He came to a couple of our rehearsals, and none of us knew that he was sick. Well, I guess there were, you know, 2 or 3 people at the top that knew, but everyone else had no idea. So, you know, I definitely didn't quite realize the significance, but it was, you know, it's still David Bowie in the room. And that was pretty amazing.
Bowie came to your rehearsals.
Bowie came. Sorry.
Holy shit. I thought you were talking about the writer. Oh my God. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I think on several levels it was amazing because, you know, there's the musicality and, you know, everything as you expect. But then there's also like, he was super disarming. Like right off the bat, he's just like making jokes. He knew all this stuff about like British jazz musicians, like Henry Hay, who's also in Forq, was the music director, and he worked a good bit with Bowie. But yeah, he like made, you know, Henry was talking about an arrangement that he made that was like, he was like, you know, kind of like English swing. And then like Bowie just starts riffing on all these like English jazz musicians that I've never even heard of. Just like, wow, he really like knows his shit. And he's giving the drummer shit for like, I can't even remember what it was for. He like, messed something up, and or maybe the bass player like didn't have his amp on or something. He's like ribbing him. It's just like, this is so great. And then even beyond that, like everything that I learned about him afterward, because I've done a few tribute shows with some people that were actually in his band. And, it's one of those things where like you're hanging out and people kind of share stories. And the way that they would talk about him was so instructive in a way, because they were talking about how he was never the kind of leader who was like, I need it to be this way. He was always like, the song needs this. Like, how can we get this? So he's always open to people's ideas, and he's always just focused on what does the music need, which is pretty inspiring for someone who is in that position. Like, like you hear stories about other equally famous people, and it's like, even if they're, you're like, yeah, they're really gifted, but yeah, I mean, kind of a dick, or they would definitely not be interested in what do you think this song needs.
Sure.
More about like the attitude. So that was pretty amazing. Like he really only cared about the art, which sounds trite, but it was like actually true with him. Like he never really did anything for any other reason.
Sorry, I apologize. I mean to cut you off there.
Oh yeah.
I interviewed a guy named Paige Hamilton, who was the founder of Helmet. They're like a hard rock, hardcore. They call it, I don't know. It's like more like, anyway, he worked with Bowie. He did a tour with Bowie, and he said the exact same thing. He said he was just a kind, supportive, gentle guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
it's amazing.
Really good. Really nice.
And there's so much stuff about him too that I didn't even know until if I had never done that show, I wouldn't even have been aware of like several of what are now my favorite albums that, I feel like just kind of like are in obscurity. I don't know. There's just so much cool, like inventive music that he was a part of that you don't even realize until you start to look into it. Yeah, that's definitely up there. And being able to try to like actually play his songs and do them justice in like a few different, arenas it's really cool.
Very cool, man. Good for you. So playing with Bowie and being around Bowie, what would be number 2?
Number 2, well, I mean, I guess experience-wise, winning the first Grammy with Snarky Puppy was like totally amazing. Like one of those things where you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna wake up from this dream right now. This doesn't make sense what's happening right now. That was totally incredible. But you're talking about like more like musical projects.
But no, anything, just like anything that's been important to you, or that like what was your knee jerk reaction to that question? Really, that's what it is. That would be, what the 3. Yeah, and it's not even in order. Yeah. It's just like,
Yeah. Well, I guess the next sort of like the next one that came to mind was recording Snarky Puppy Family Dinner 2. Was like another one of those like the first night we got there, it was kind of like this crazy like summer camp vibe in a way where like everyone's there for the right reasons, and like to make music and to have fun. And like I remember the first night we got there, people were just kind of getting their sounds, and like the way the room was set up was like this really big space with kind of multiple places to work on stuff. So like David Crosby's like in one part of the room, just kind of like playing through his songs, and like he like the only thing he really cares about is lyrics and pretty chords. So he does these like crazy tunings, and then he'll just kind of like he'll just fuck around like for hours finding really cool, interesting chords. And like so he was sitting there like playing through his songs and singing them to us, and then he would like hit a chord and be like, yeah, you hear that? You hear that? I could just play this chord all day long. Just like, yeah, fuck yeah, David Crosby. And then like, then I like walk over like 10, yeah.
That's great.
And walk over like 15 yards to the other side of the room, and Charlie Hunter's getting his sound, and he's going through like a bass amp and a guitar amp at the same time, and just like grooving his ass off by himself, like for like a few people like hanging out, just like watching him. Just like, this is really cool. This is a good vibe. And like Crosby was like coming to all the rehearsals because he just wanted to. Like, it wasn't like the thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to my hotel. Let me know when I'm needed or whatever. It's like, just come in and hang out and like watch. Like everyone who was there was interested in seeing each other. Like, even if it was someone you maybe hadn't heard of before, it was like the level of musicianship was such that like you wanted to see what they were about to do.
That's
really like there's this band called Vesson from Sweden that the drummer in that band is named Andre Ferrari. Strangely enough, for a Swedish person.
Yeah.
He's also in Bokante. And so, yeah, this band Vesson was there. And it's like not the sort of thing that maybe anyone who was there, I mean, especially someone, you know, who's like super famous, would have heard of. But the level of playing and like the way that they were approaching music was on this level where everyone's just like, I want to be around to see what's about to go down.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That is cool. You know, I think
just kind of like. Mm-hmm.
No, you go ahead.
I think the mutual sharing of like talent just for that purpose is like, it's, you know, kind of rare in a way, like for not, and especially the further along you get in like the music world, in the industry, there's like, you know, there's not always that many times when you're going to have that feeling of excitement from your gig. Even if it's cool, there's always some part where it's like someone is in a bad mood or someone wants to just like go to the hotel or whatever, you know. It's like at some point there's an aspect of it where you are just doing a job, even if there's other parts of it that are amazing. But, you know, that particular recording session was just like a week of let's just hang and jam and talk about music and life and tell stories. And it was just like, this is what it should be like. So cool.
That is cool, man. It sounds great. What a player Charlie is, man.
Man. Yeah.
I'm almost positive that I asked this question to Bob and he said the same. Recording Snarky Puppy Family Dinner 2 was in his top 3. I couldn't swear to it, but I'm really almost positive of that. Yeah. So very cool, man.
I think the Ground Up Festival felt like that too. That was another like adult summer camp experience of like, everyone here is just talented and fun and cool and having a good time. It's like, seems so simple, and yet it, you know, doesn't happen that often. Yeah. That festival is, I mean, there's been 2 of them and they're both amazing, but, you know, especially the first one, just because it was like this new experience that was, yeah.
When does that take place? When does it go?
It's February in Miami. Yeah.
Have you had any like low points or challenging times of your career, and what were they, and how did you manage to get through them?
Yeah. I feel like I kind of just had one. Like I definitely have miniature ones often, mm-hmm. but we just recorded the next Snarky Puppy album. And the 2 weeks leading up to that, I had home and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to write something for Snarky Puppy, because I wrote a song that we did on our like 3rd or 4th album. I can't remember. But that was like so long ago. And basically every album since then I've been like, I should really write something for this band. And I could just never really get anything happening. So I was like, I'm going to do it this time. And I spent a week just like not being able to get in the right mindset. I was like in programming brain working on apps, and I just like couldn't get in a musical mindset. And then the next week I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I spent the whole day just like basically trying everything, like going back and listening to old voice memos, playing with different instruments, like singing, just trying everything. And like nothing was working at all. I was feeling like super uninspired, just like, you know, just one of those times where you're like, maybe I just like, this isn't going to happen, and I don't need to be doing music ever. Like,
wow, that's intense.
I don't know. It's like, it's so weird how that can happen. Like, sometimes you feel like, I am pretty good at this. This is working. And then if something isn't clicking, there's just that. It's so, at least for me, it's really easy to just start feeling like, I'm just no good at all, and I can't write anything, and I can't play anything, and I don't know if everyone. I feel like most artists probably feel that way to some extent, but it's very easy for me to like go to that particular mental place. So I don't really have any good advice or tricks or whatever. I mean, the way that this last time, I basically just kept at it until I finally found this old song that I started writing for Forq, and I was like, maybe I can make this work. And I kind of got it to a place where I didn't hate it. And I was like, okay, maybe I can actually make some music, and I also I try to just get into the mental mindset of just trying to make music out of anything that I possibly can, because you never know where inspiration is going to come from.
Sure.
So it'd be like going to bed, just trying to imagine songs, imagine playing on stage, trying to dream about it if I can. When you wake up, you're half asleep. You try to see if you can find something in there. Just kind of allow all channels to be open for anything that might want to come your way. There's some quote, I think it was Tom Petty, about writing music is like catching a bus. Like, you don't know if it'll show up, but you have to go there.
Yeah, you got to get to the bus stop.
But it's something like that. Yeah, you have to put yourself there, and you have to show up and try. So if I can just force myself to do it, because I think there's also this artistic part of me that's well, it shouldn't have to be forced. It should just come naturally. You just have this eureka moment of there it is. But I find that I kind of have to. There's a little bit of fake it till you make it. Sometimes with the music writing, where you're I'm just gonna write a bad song for the next 2 hours.
Sure.
And if I can just tell myself that, then it takes the pressure off. There was a previous time that I was having some trouble writing. I basically did this thing where I was so my wife, she was working in a restaurant, and it's kind of a long story, but she was working in a restaurant, and she, so every time that I would go to hang out with her, I was just man, this music is so bad. And I was like, why don't you just play stuff off of your own playlist? And she said, I don't really know. I think that the company, for whatever copyright reasons or something, royalties, they have to do it this way. So I as a thought experiment, I was wouldn't it be cool if I could just quickly record, 300 songs for her, and they could just play it on a
if I could quickly record 300 songs for her. That's
quickly,
optimistic.
Real fast. Yeah. But it was helpful, because then I was okay, I'm going to see if I could do it. Just every day, wake up, record a song in any genre with any instrumentation. Doesn't even matter if it's good or bad. All that matters is that it's, original, so there's no royalties, and it's a finished, completed song.
Sure.
A recorded song. And for whatever reason, that helped me break out of some cycle, because a lot of times when I'm writing, if I don't like the initial idea, instead of tweaking it and working on it, I'm just oh, it's garbage, and I throw it away. So in that mindset, it's oh, it doesn't really matter if it's not the best idea in the world, because it doesn't matter. You just finish the song, and if it's a mediocre song, then it'll still work. But I kind of tricked myself, because I'm a perfectionist, so I'll continue working on it until it's not a mediocre song, until it's something I actually care about.
Yeah.
So I basically tricked myself into writing several songs that I actually like, by doing this thought experiment of what if I just wrote a song that I don't care about?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. I interviewed a woman. Her name is Grace Askew, and she's a guitar player, but I think she was on The Voice or one of those shows, and she had fourth place. And she's doing something right now where she's going live every day on an Instagram feed, and she has to write a song a day. And she basically calls this the Dare to Suck campaign, because she said, Craig,
oh,
look,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, she just says, look, I know pretty much maybe 1 out of 10 to 1 out of 20 of these songs will be okay. She said, but basically this is about being okay to suck. Cause I know I'm going to put, 9 to 19 songs that are garbage, but I have to do that in public to get through to the one gem that I might write. That's interesting. Yeah. So for her, it's like, I
think that feels about the same.
Yeah. I thought that was really, mature. I thought that was really like a great example of someone being real with themselves. Like, yeah, I could do this. It's not hard to write the songs. It's what I have to be okay with is writing shitty songs because I just know statistically that's going to happen on most of them. Right. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that, there's like something where you're like, well, if you wait for every next song to be your best song ever, then you might just like sit there forever.
Yeah.
And then if you kind of like crap out 9 songs, then you can kind of get to the next good one.
Kind of. Yeah.
It's funny.
Or maybe 10 or 20 songs, but it'll come. Yeah.
Right.
You're originally from Austin. What was your childhood like growing up?
It was good. I mean, I basically, I feel like I had like a pretty independent childhood in a way. Like I was really close with my parents and my sister, but we kind of all like had like a do your own thing way about our home life, which, like I was talking about before about like recording songs, like I had a lot of time to just do that on my own, like kind of go to my room and like, and work on this thing, which I think was really cool in a way.
Yeah.
It kind of helped foster this like work ethic and like kind of self motivation. But I've since learned from other people that that's it's not normal. Most families like bother each other and get involved in each other's business. But I was like,
it's I don't know. I don't think there's a normal. What's normal is what you for you, whatever you did, that was normal. I mean,
right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I've raised 3 kids, so I'm trying to think. I think like with us, I was probably more up my older son's ass because he was the first one. And by the time the third one comes, you're just like, man, fuck it. I got no energy left. As long as you're not seriously, man, he's like, as long as you're not burning down the house, it's like pretty cool. Just like, please be reasonable, It's serious because it's so overwhelming. For me, it was like so much work. I was like exhausted, emotionally, like exhausted.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think that like my parents split up when I was like 9, I think. By the way, is some of the background noise too loud at this point? It's starting to rain. I should go inside.
I don't know that it's too loud. It's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay.
Cool.
The birds, I noticed the bird that was, I like that bird that was like sort of participating in this, and then the bird stopped, must be because of the rain.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He was just yelling about how it's about to rain.
So you're saying your folks split up when you were 9?
Yeah, and I think that the way that it worked out, because they are like super like fair-minded, reasonable people, that I think that they went to, I've since found out they spoke to someone at that time, a counselor or whatever.
Yeah.
And like basically the encouragement they got was not to use their children, in a negative way.
Sure.
Basically, like not to like don't ever talk bad about the other one in front of your child, and don't, make them the problem, which is amazing. Really, like I've seen it go not that way.
Yeah.
So that's really fantastic that they were able to take that advice or seek that advice and take it. But I think, that the way that it played out was kind of like I think they erred on the side of like, keep the peace.
Yeah.
And let us do our thing. And like, because I was also always really good in school. So I think they were kind of like, well, he gets good grades. So like, basically like,
let's leave him alone. He's earned a pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, I think that kind of contributed to like getting, to have like a very independent, vibe.
I think that's great, man. I think that's great. And for you, it worked out because you're the kind of kid you did you know, what you got out of that is, okay, I'm going to work hard and get involved in projects. And you were probably quiet as a kid, maybe, or, you know, whatever, and introverted.
Yeah.
That was right up your alley. You can be, and yet creative. So you got to be yourself effectively in all these things. It's just tough for me, it was just tough raising kids. There's no manual, and it's just like, shit happens, and you just like, oh my God, how do I deal with this? You know, again, for me, I'm sure. Like I didn't have a good childhood, so I didn't have a good frame of reference. I'm sure that played into it. So I didn't like, you know, I've
definitely since found out. No, you finish.
No. That was it. Go ahead, man.
You know, yeah. I mean, I've definitely since found out, of course, that like they didn't feel good about a lot of stuff that was happening. You know,
of course, yeah.
But I was like, oh no, it was good. Like, you guys were great. Like, I had a great childhood, and my dad thought that he was messing it up the whole time, and you know, all of that.
That's good that you told him that, man.
Story of most parents.
It is, because I had the same thing. I thought I wasn't a good dad, and all of my daughter's only 18, so she doesn't, but my sons are 28 and 26, and they've both like come to me and, you know, said, I didn't like some of the things you did, but I really appreciate it now, and you know, you're always there for me, and I know you're always there for me now. So that was really very rewarding for me, because you never know. You genuinely never know. And you know, and if you're like a driven person, you're going to probably be a harder on you. And like I said, I had no frame of reference. So I didn't know, I knew I didn't like do the same things my dad did, which was good, but did I do a good job? I don't know. Probably could have done better, but they were both are happy. And that made me feel really, you know, really good. I felt like, but they don't tell you that till like in their mid to late.
Right.
You have to wait like,
you like
30 years for an attaboy.
Like physically impossible. Yeah, like I don't think that it's physically possible for like a teenage brain to like actually know how to say that.
No, well, they hated me when they were teenagers anyway, so I was the only dad made them buy a car. I didn't buy it's, you know, stupid shit like that. But what are you looking to do more of? For them. Yeah, of course it's good for them. I'm not buying you a freaking car. Are you out of your mind? I mean, seriously, like, you know, like this is not going to happen. Anyway. No, I'll tell you what I did though. My wife and I, when we said to the kids when they were little, every dollar you save for a car, we'll match it. I thought that was really cool because
that is good.
Yeah, and then when they were, I think when they bought their cars, each of them, I added $1,000 to that to contribute, and then whenever they had, they were getting. That's it. You know, if they hadn't saved enough money, this is a them problem, not a me problem. You know, so.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I thought it was important to give them responsibility, you know, and let them be proud of, you know, hey, I bought this car, man. That's, you know, didn't stop them from crashing it, every one of them, but every one of them. What are you looking to do more of, like, over the next few years? You really got a lot of just like impressive amount of diversity, all the different, you're not just doing different music projects, you're doing different side hustles. I mean, it's really good. I think it's very healthy as a creative person. And I think just like, you know, as a business person, I think it's healthy. And then also it's like, it's nice not to do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I feel like there's definitely times that I feel like I should, or I don't know about should, but you know, whatever. There's like an alternate universe where, you know, I really just focus on playing the guitar well. And like, I feel like if I put all the energy that I put into everything into that one thing, you know, I would I would definitely be a better guitar player. But I don't know, the way that, I mean, I've always worked that way. Like even when I was, you know, 12 years old writing music, I just liked songs that sounded different from each other. Like I never wanted to do the same thing twice. So I think that's kind of stuck with me. And I don't know, for better or for worse, it's the way that I am. Like even when I am playing guitar, like I always want to do different stuff, sound different from one version of the song to the next.
That's great.
So I think it's cool. I don't know. I guess I feel like there's value in either way. And this is the way that my brain works. And cause sometimes I get so into programming, it almost kind of scares me where I'm like, do I care about music anymore? It's weird. It's like very bizarre.
No,
it's the only thing that I've ever done as an adult, but I really get a lot of enjoyment out of it's like solving a riddle like a massive riddle that contains lots of little riddles, and then at the end of it you get this cool thing that's fun to play with, and it's like also for sale for, you know, all humans, which is like a cool feeling too.
Oh, I think it's great.
I don't know. I find it to be very satisfying.
I think it's a tremendous good problem to have, man, where you have so many different things that you like that, you know, the other ones can fall off the chart for the day or two, and you're still really happy.
Right.
That's a blessing, man. Not many people. I mean, how many people even like the one thing they do?
Well, that's true.
You know,
that's very true.
So, I mean, musicians do, but you know, the average layperson, probably not so much.
Yeah, that's very true. No, I absolutely, I definitely consider that to be a very lucky thing. But yeah, I think as far as what I'm trying to work on more, I have like a solo album that's basically been in some stage of production for years. So I'm you know, looking to make that a priority. In between all of these other, you know, bands that I'm touring with and stuff I'm working on. So that is definitely going to be happening, you know, later this year, early next year. And then I have a few other apps that I have ideas for. So once I get the new version of Guitar Note Atlas happening, I'm going to start to work on some of those other ones. Yeah, I mean, those are basically the two main areas. I want to get my own music happening, even though I'm doing Forq, which is my own music. You know, I've got this whole kind of like other thing entirely that I've always wanted to do. That's some combination of like all of the music that I grew up with and that I have incorporated into my life ever since, including like singing.
Do you sing a lot? Do you sing?
That's the main. I sing in Bokante. I sing with Banda Magda, with Lucy Woodward. I think that's about it. But yeah, I sang in Photo Story and I sang in Osacloso, but all of that was like background singing.
Okay.
So, but you know, growing up, I mean, basically the first several years of my life from my musical life, were writing songs that I sang. So there's like kind of this like, you know, part of me that I would like to bring back and at least just see if it could work. You know, it's one of those things where like, I think this is cool, and I don't know if anyone else would think it's cool, but I would like to at least like do it and put it out there.
Put it out there, and, man.
Like, at least tell myself that I tried. You know.
Absolutely, yeah, man. Put it out there. You know what? I like the noise in the background. It almost feels like I'm on the patio with you there, man. Because I happen to like the way rain. Yeah. I like rain, like the sound of rain. Just like on a roof, especially. Nice. Look at that, man. That's awesome.
Here, I'll give you the background. You can see my Buddha statue.
There it goes. Yeah, I do see your little Buddha statue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like the sound of rain. Something about it is very
it's nice.
Comforting
very
for
nice.
some reason. Very natural.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk gear for a few minutes. What is your go-to guitar right now, and what other two guitars would round out your top three?
The main one I've been playing lately is it's a guitar by Moolon, which is a Korean maker, Moollon. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's not their normal thing. It's kind of like this, almost like a Les Paul, but it's lighter and the humbuckers are not wound. This is, you know, me trying to explain something I don't understand, but I think that they're not wound as tightly, so it's not as saturated.
Okay.
Does that seem right?
I don't know,
it's
but
like,
yes, of course. Yeah. Perfect.
Right.
Seems right to me.
Anyway. Like a Les Paul. Yeah, sure. Why not? That sounds real.
I'm
like
just
science.
Mulan. I was thinking like the Disney movie, but it's Moollon. I'm just still digging on that spelling.
Yeah.
How did you hook up with this company?
Yeah. I found them basically through Henry Hay, and I think I can't remember exactly how he figured out if it was Tim LaFave that found them first, or if Henry showed Tim LaFave, and I'm sure if he hears this interview, he'll correct me and yell at me. But yeah, Tim LaFave is the first person that I saw playing them. He plays their basses. I think they're a little more known for basses, but they also make they kind of make old Fender style stuff for the most part. They make Stratocasters and Telecasters and key basses. But then, I saw I guess 3 years ago at NAMM, the NAMM convention, he had this like that sort of Les Paul guitar. I think he was just kind of like experimenting with it. And I keep saying he because I think it's basically the one guy that more or less makes most of the stuff.
Mr. Mulan.
Mr. Mulan. Young June is his name.
Okay.
Mulan. I think Mulan means like it's some kind of catchy thing in Korean. It's like
cash flow.
It's all right. It's all good or something like that.
Very cool.
Cash flow.
It means cash flow in Korean.
But yeah, it's a super versatile instrument. It's cool. It's like it could be a Les Paul if you need it to be, but it also is not like so much only that. So I kind of use it for like everything from jazz to funk, rock, whatever.
And it's got two regular, like two humbuckers.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And
then I've also got a Telecaster, also by Mulan. That one's also kind of versatile because it's got humbuckers and it's got a floating bridge, so you can do a lot of different sounds on that thing. Super cool. So it could be kind of telly-ish if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. I think I tend to be a little more interested in guitars that don't like immediately sound like a particular kind of guitar. Like because I have a Strat, but every time I play it, I don't know. I guess I just feel like it's so Stratty. I kind of just want something that's a little more neutral.
Yeah.
Somehow, not quite so like just in that one vein.
Is it because it's too identifiable and it pigeonholes you, maybe? Or?
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it depends on what it's for. Like if it's a recording session, or if it's like this very Stratty thing is going to kind of like counterbalance something else in the song that's very different, then sometimes that can be cool. But I think that like when I'm just kind of doing, if I'm playing Snarky Puppy or Forq Bokante and I'm kind of like doing my own kind of sound, I like to do something a little more, I don't know, I guess I just tend to try to make guitars sound not like guitars and like other stuff with weird pedals and combination of different things. I got really into like the concept of synthesizers a couple years ago.
So what are you using?
And I read like, well, I'm not really using anything for that. Although I do really want to like get a MIDI guitar that could like I guess Victor Wooten has this bass. I'm blanking on the name of the company, but there's a video of him playing this MIDI bass. It's incredible. Like it tracks super well. So like I have this idea of playing regular guitar and then layering that on top with MIDI going into like an analog synthesizer.
Mm-hmm.
So like it wouldn't even have to be a keyboard. It could just be the the module, and so you could like tweak the knobs as you're playing and get kind of this layer of synth on top of a regular guitar, so they're both happening at the same time. So that's kind of like eventually what I'd like to do. But in the meantime, I started reading about like how like LFOs work and modulation and stuff like that, and basically was like, okay, well if you can make a synthesizer sound cool by using like a subtle vibrato or a subtle tremolo, then like why not do that on guitar? So I started using pedals, not like instead of being like this is a clean sound and then I turn this pedal on and it's like it's a tremolo sound that everyone would hear.
Right.
More like I'm gonna put the tremolo on like 10%. You don't really hear it exactly, but it's just a tonal thing. And then I'm going to put like a chorus effect on like just barely, or a vibrato effect on just barely, and they're at like different speeds, or maybe stereo into different amps, and one of them is tremolo and the other one is vibrato, or something like that, where it's like there's just kind of like a thickening of the sound in the way that you would do for like synthesizers.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. You know what? You might want to check this band out. You ever heard of a band called Jamiroquai?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought so, but hey, I interviewed Rob Harris.
Oh yeah,
he's their guitar player, and I think didn't you guys play together recently?
I think that Snarky Puppy did. I may not have been on that. particular gig?
Like it was.
Because I know they hung out.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was recent. Like Corey Wong was there, maybe Mark was there. But what Rob does, like almost all of his work, and you may want to check some of their stuff out, is composed of not playing guitar. It's of finding noises, or not. I shouldn't say noises. Synthesized types of sounds that he creates to support the music, because he's a rhythm guy. You know, he's not doing loads of leads.
Yeah.
And like, so he spends hours and hours on that stuff, man. You may want to listen to some of that stuff. It's all he does. You know,
is that on like recent albums? I feel like I haven't really noticed that in particular on the Jamiroquai stuff that I've heard.
That's what he says. He spends a lot of time, almost all of his time is spent creating supporting sounds that he goes, it doesn't even sound like, I mean, almost some of the words he used, from what you were saying, that doesn't even sound like a guitar, you know, or he has all these pedals. Really cool. Yeah. And so, I don't know, check some of that out. It might be inspirational.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely, and I definitely like also got that, I think, from growing up listening to Radiohead and like, I guess just rock in general. Yeah, like sort of like like feedback and creative noise is like, it becomes part of the whole thing. Like we're like that band Photo Destroyer that I was doing for a few years. It's definitely a part of that too. Like a big thing that we would do, and it really shapes the song. Like it kind of like from an outside perspective, you're kind of like, well, that's just fluff or whatever. But like there's a whole technique to
what you said is
the exact right moment. I try to do that with Snarky Puppy sometimes. Like if I can get like I have an analog delay, and if I can get like a feedback loop happening, building through a section, and then cutting it off like right at the top of the next thing or whatever. You know, it's like this really effective kind of thing that I don't know. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's felt and not necessarily noticed specifically for what it is, which is cool.
Yeah,
I feel like. Yeah, I actually like really enjoy being a part of the band in that sort of subtle way. And sometimes I think of myself as like a percussionist. Like I try to like imagine what it would be like to play, especially like playing, like literally playing rhythm parts with your right hand, or, you know, left hand if you're left-handed, like trying to imagine like what it would be like to be the percussionist on this part of the song.
Sure.
Just playing a tambourine, like how you like fit right into the cut and don't stick out, but just layer in, you know?
Interesting.
Cool.
Charlie actually practices percussion all the time, because that's a lot of,
that
what
makes
his
sense.
Yeah, a lot of what his mindset is.
He said that, I can't remember some interview I saw him, and he was talking about how he doesn't think of his solos as solos. They're just, I think that might have been on the Family Dinner DVD. He saying he just thinks of solos as like rhythm. I can't remember the way he put it, but it's just like rhythm with more notes or something like that. But it's cool. It's like a much more effective way to think about soloing on the guitar, I think, because it really is a rhythm instrument.
Well, if you approach it like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you don't necessarily have to, but
I don't know that Steve Vai would say that's a rhythm instrument.
Right, yeah. I guess that's true. There's so many different ways to play the guitar. It's weird. Like, yeah, I remember I took classical lessons in college, and I remember that being like an interesting part of that was like, oh, like you're actually learning how to play the guitar in a specific way, like as like a, you know, almost like a revelation. Because like before that, it's like I don't know. There's this matrix of frets and notes and strings, and do what you want, man. Like, but I think it's cool in a way, but also I think it's interesting that it's one of the few instruments where like you don't, like from day one, someone's not showing you like, here's a note, here's how to play that note. Yeah, it's
this,
where, so, you know,
it's so many ways to interpret it. Hey, any players who've influenced your playing that people would be surprised to hear?
Well, I went through I've gone through lots of phases. I went through a major Brian May phase. Yeah, mostly when I was doing that band, Oso Closo, and like, I mean, it's pretty obvious when you listen to those. There's two albums and there's like a guitar solo in every song, and they're like,
as it should be, Chris. As it should be, Chris.
As it should be. Yeah. No, we were on a mission to bring back the guitar solo, actually. But yeah, so I definitely like got super into that kind of like, the tone and also the touch, kind of like almost classical, in a way, and also kind of like writing out like your perfect solo, and then performing it in like a improvisatory feel. Got like really into that concept, and I don't know if that's how Brian May thought about it, but it seems like that, because based on the recordings and watching some of the live stuff, like that kind of seems like the way he felt about it. Like, I got really into that, and I don't know if that's still really a part of my playing, but it's it's like kind of tucked in there somewhere. I got really into Kurt Rosenwinkel, which is probably fairly obvious. That was like kind of in college times. But I also got really into Keith Jarrett, which, it's always, I think it's sort of better to like get really into people that play instruments that aren't your own, so that your influence isn't like so bare. Like, no one would ever be like, that guitar player just sounds like Keith Jarrett. That would never be a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got super into him. Like, transcribed tons of his solos.
How did you get into You've mentioned transcribing a lot. How did you that is like really difficult. It's one thing to learn them, but to actually put the pen to paper and transcribe, that's really a lot of brain power and like minutia. I
guess it is. I feel like that just goes into like being a music nerd.
What if you're into coding?
Like, it's like,
yeah,
right, exactly.
No, it's
it's like there's like a part of my brain that like really enjoys the like, I don't know what it is, like completionist, like seeing the thing in front of you, feeling. But I also have done a lot of transcribing where I don't write it down. I just learn the solo. So I feel like there's definitely value to either way. I don't even know. I mean, there's plenty of people that don't even care about transcribing at all, or certainly lots of people that don't care about writing it down that are amazing players. But for whatever reason, I really like that.
Yeah,
I like getting like very specific transcribing, like every little like nuance of articulation, and like if there's a little bit of vibrato. Like I remember doing Coltrane solos, and noticing that he always holds his long notes, and then he always holds them a straight tone, and then puts vibrato at the end.
Oh, he doesn't put not the whole thing is vibrato. He'll hold it.
No, it's like right at the end of the notes. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of sax players maybe do that, but he definitely does.
And, there are guitar players that do that too. They don't vibrate through the whole thing. Like, you got a guy like Gilmore who will vibrate through pretty much everything. But I'm thinking like maybe like Santana's got great vibrato, but he won't vibrate the whole note. He'll trail it off and then, hit it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cool sound.
Oh, it's great. And they both of them sound wonderful. I mean, they're both, some of the best tones in the history of music, those two guys.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. This is a tough one. Desert Island Discs. No particular order. What's your like? I know. It's like this is like the worst question. Knee jerk reaction. Top 3 Desert Island Discs. No particular order.
I
know. It's just like.
Well, I mean, I guess speaking of Keith Jarrett, I think one album that I always go back to over and over again is him playing the Bach Goldberg variations. He plays on harpsichord.
Oh, wow.
And it's awesome. I think that there's a Glenn Gould version of that. It's like the famous one, and which is also great. But for whatever reason, that particular one, the Keith Jarrett one, like I just really like his touch, like his timing. I don't know. It's almost like the thing with Brian May. Like it's like written out, but it almost sounds like he's playing it as if he's thinking of it at that moment somehow, which is I think it's really cool for Bach because I don't know. It seems like Bach was probably a major improviser, right? Like I feel like I've heard that. I haven't done my research, but I feel like I've heard that, and it makes sense based on the way that like variations kind of are like taking a motif and working them out over the same changes, basically.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I just thought. Go ahead, man. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No. Not at all. Go ahead.
Do you groove on music that you feel, or do you groove on music that you cerebrally see?
I don't think I see it. Definitely feel. I think it has to be both, honestly, for me to like really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I really don't dig music that is only feel. It doesn't have some level, at least, I mean, it's like, it's cool, but like, I think music that like really turns me on is like, it has both. It kind of has to have both though. Like I don't really get off on music that doesn't have like some amount of rhythm, you know, or like feeling. I did 1 year of composition in college, which was based around 20th century music. And there's a lot of that stuff that I really did feel, and there's a lot of it that I didn't. Like, you know, it's like stuff that's like 12 to, like, it kind of runs the whole spectrum, because some people would write music that was completely based on math. And like literally has like, it doesn't matter if it's like you're hearing it in your head or anything, it's just math.
Yeah.
And I never really got into that. So yeah, I mean, it has to have, and that's, you know, the way that I approach writing music is always by my ear. And that's the way I approach improvising. Mm-hmm. Even though I definitely practice and I want to know all the theory that I can. It's kind of like the thing where you try to forget it. So when it comes to writing or improvising, it's like I only go by ear, which is why I play wrong notes so often, because I'm just like trying to find this thing that's in my head. But yeah, I think kind of has to have both. But going back the other direction, there is music that's like if it feels good, it's like it's cool. But I always gravitate towards stuff that also has like some interesting change or some like melodic figure that you wouldn't expect. You know?
Yeah, I got that from talking with you, that you need. It's almost like you want to have a little challenge or a curiosity of exploration on the cerebral side, and then you know, yeah, you got to feel it, but you need the second component as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I really like music that is like either between genres or like a blend of genres in a way. Maybe that's why I like Keith Jarrett's version of Goldberg Variations. Just like, I feel like I don't know how classical people would feel about it, but I would suspect that he has like a slightly jazzy feel on it somehow, like a purposefully improvisatory approach. Even I don't think he was going for that at all. I think he was really trying to be classical for real. And you know. And maybe but I guess part of me feels like that's probably the right way to approach Bach, because like, I feel like he could probably like at that time, he probably was the equivalent of like of a Charlie Parker or something, like someone who could just tear through chord changes, making up amazing stuff as he's doing it. So like, yeah, but also I could listen to that like 100 times and still not be bored, because it's just like perfect music.
That's great. Yeah,
always like. You can always sit down with Bach and learn something new every single note.
Funny, when I mentioned Page Hamilton, his biggest influence is classical music. And like, this is a guy who like is well known for like extremely aggressive. I wouldn't call it hardcore, because today's hardcore is a different definition than when like in the 90s when his band came out. But I was shocked that that's his thing. Like, I mean, all he talked about was classical. I mean, he's gone over to
really
like Beethoven's grave over in Germany and like pilgrimages to places like that. But that's, I mean, I think he said like Beethoven's 7th Symphony 2nd movement, that's going to be played at my funeral. I mean, he was like, he knows every, you know, but it's so interesting that what he plays is like literally diametrically, I don't know if it's diametrically opposite, but it's pretty opposite to, you know, to what he's, it was really interesting.
Awesome.
It was very interesting.
I kind of feel like classical music and like also jazz, like especially like difficult jazz, is similar in that way, where it's like this well of awesome information that like if you tap into it, you get educated, and so like you can go use it for your other other genres and like have this like superpower over like, that's kind of how I, at least in a way, like how I felt like studying jazz. Yeah. Like studying jazz in school and then like going to, you know, go play in rock bands or whatever. Like I kind of felt like there was this level where people are like, I don't know how you're doing what you're doing, but you know, but in a way you're like, well, once you've tried to play giant steps, then like, you know, but that doesn't say anyone that plays jazz can play rock because they're completely different approaches in many ways. But if you care about rock and you grew up with it and you like it already, and then you go and like really dig into something difficult like classical or jazz and force yourself to learn this like crazy stuff, then you're kind of like, oh, okay, like it isn't so difficult to like do some of this rock stuff.
Very cool. So
as long as you don't like forget how to rock.
Keith Jarrett, Goldberg variations. What about 2 and 3?
I guess the next thing that comes to mind is Elliott Smith. But I don't know which one album. Because
wow, that's Keith Jarrett, I know, Elliott like, Smith. Okay, this is going to be interesting.
I know, left turn. Well, you got to have variety on this desert island.
Yeah, know? Man.
But I said the way that I got into Elliott Smith was late. It was in college, and it was to do. I got asked by this rock band that I was like, I wasn't in, but I was friends with, that were part of this like Elliott Smith tribute show. And so like basically I just downloaded like all of Elliott Smith's entire catalog and listened to it over and over again without knowing the names of songs or what albums they were on. So I basically just like absorbed his entire world. But I mean, you know, if I had to pick one, I think XO.
That's a dark world, man. At times.
I mean, it's all dark. It's so dark. Yeah. But it's like the music is so good, and I do think like, you know, in more recent years, focusing a little more on the lyrics is kind of you know, there are parts that it's like, okay, it's kind of hard to like not notice how fucking dark this is.
Yeah,
but they're also like really beautiful lyrics, and they're
it's very tender, very tender moments in there. Yeah,
but just the songwriting is just like I wish that I could do one of those songs like, you know, ever write you think that perfect. It's so cool. But it's so funny because I put them all, like I just put them all on one list and I just listened to all of them together. So I don't even know where they belong.
That's funny that you don't separate the albums.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, you know, when I was younger I did, because I had a CD player in my car, so I just listened to the same CD over and over and over again. But now, you know,
I kind of miss that because like now
I know,
like you don't even know name. At least me, I don't even sometimes retain names of songs. It's just like, oh, I know I like cut 7, you know,
totally.
And I miss reading the back of album covers, and like you were just more emotionally vested and intellectually vested in the music when you had an album. You know, I'm not bitching about technology. It's great and it's easy and it's awesome, but you know, there is a little bit of a lapse.
Yeah, definitely.
Keith Jarrett, Elliott Smith. I'm dying to hear what you're going to come up with next, man.
I know.
Hank Garland.
I mean, there are an insane number of choices. Like it could go so many different directions. I think I'm going to say Radiohead.
Awesome.
And it is also very difficult to pick one album. But I think Kid A.
Great album, great band, man.
Yeah.
Really good band.
Yeah,
he does all that stuff that
the level of detail. Yeah. It was. Sorry, finish the thought.
Well, I was saying he does all the stuff with the effects, the stuff that you're looking to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Man.
Yeah, I think that there's like a production, you know, obviously they aren't like technically the best players on their instruments. But like, I think that's what, you know, in a way, what I think is cool about it is that they have the level of taste and musicianship to like figure out how to make like the thing that they want to make a reality. And like, I don't know, that the production is like, I guess, you know, from growing up, spending years basically being a producer before knowing what that even was. like that's such a deeply embedded thing. When I hear music like that, that's like clearly every single part of this was cared for and thought about. Because I mean, I guess I could say like so many Beatles albums as a Desert Island Choice for that same reason. Just like so much intricate detail put into every part of this recording. I think that's so cool.
I agree. Great band, great production, man. Great mixing. All right, now the questions get tough, man. This is like one of the toughest questions.
Now they get tough. All right.
Yeah. Well, you're a bright guy. You're up for a challenge. What do you like most about yourself?
I think that I am very willing to change. I think I'm very interested in changing. That's myself. So I try to be super aware of what I'm doing and how I'm treating everyone in my life, and and there's certain things that I definitely fail at, but I feel like my goal is to continually improve, whatever that may be. Like it's like they're sort of like constantly checking in with myself, like how is life going? Could it be going better? Like what can I be doing differently? So yeah, I don't know, self-reflection, willingness to honestly think about what how I could be better. I think that's probably my best quality.
That's really cool, man. Respect for you for that, man. How about the flip side?
Hopefully that's true.
Yeah, respect for you if it's true.
If it's true. You have to ask my wife.
Yeah, that's the barometer. I know. Get the wives on here.
Bandmates.
How long you been married?
7 years.
Wow, that's good, man. You're a young guy. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's crazy because it's that feels true, but at the same time, my parents, if I were going along my parents' track, I think I would have had like 2 kids by now, and they'd be like 8 and 10 years old. So
yeah, but you're smarter than that.
Behind the
no. You're ahead, not behind.
I've been told that. I've been told that by some people. Yeah.
You're not behind. You're ahead. Trust me. If you could, well, yeah, but when you have kids young, it's just you're not as mature. You're not as good a parent. I'll be the first to tell you. You just because you haven't, you're not as patient.
It's definitely wild to realize that. Yeah, you're like, it's definitely wild to think about. Like, so I'm either like so much less together than my dad was when I was 8 years old, or he was not even close to as together as I thought he was, which is probably more true. Probably
that one. Yeah, for sure, man. It's just. I think it's smarter to wait, I had kids really young, and I don't regret having them. You can't really do that, but it's a lot. I think you're smarter to wait a little bit, or not have them if it's not your thing. I think a lot of people like I did that. I didn't think about, do I want kids or not? I just like had kids because I was on autopilot then. I thought that,
it's interesting.
Yeah.
I've talked about that with some friends lately. Yeah, I think maybe people are starting to be a little more honest with that in a way where it's like it's almost taboo to even consider that like maybe you shouldn't have kids, but like you don't have to.
No, hell no. And again, I'm not saying I didn't want.
It should be a choice.
Yeah, again, let me just clarify in case my son is listening to this, which I doubt. I'm not saying I didn't want kids, but I'm just saying that I think it's smart to think about that, and I certainly didn't have the wherewithal at that age of 26 to have that thought process. I was on autopilot.
Yeah, you don't think about, you don't consider how you're going to feel in 10 years, yeah.
Or in 6 months. Forget about 10 years. 6 months. Shit, when you're like, when you're not leaving the house, it's like, fuck, man, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of work, How about the flip side?
I believe that.
Yeah. It's really good. And some people, I think everybody's different. Like I've met some people that were like, oh my God, my world changed when I had kids, and I was so gratified, and I really found the meaning of life. And I'm like, man, that's great. I fucking didn't. That's for sure. I was just like I was overwhelmed. I was like,
right.
how do I manage all of this?
Yeah. I think the problem happens when the story of like it completed me becomes like, this thing where it's like, so that has to be the way it is for everyone. That can be really damaging to people if they don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Same for marriage. If the story is like being married is what made me a complete person, that's awesome. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone should get married to the person that they're dating right now. Like,
right. Or everybody should feel like that's the be all and that completes you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important.
Exactly.
Now that I'm older, I think it's important that you're good with yourself. And that I don't think that's possible to get good with yourself at a young age. I mean, there are some people that are, and I've met some people and they're very mature. I certainly didn't have that level of maturity. I think you get good with yourself older, and then you're like, you're just more chilled out about things. You're more flexible. Things don't bother you as much. You could play with others better. He doesn't play well with others. You can play well with others, so.
Yeah.
Flip side of the last question. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I wish I had a better memory. That's like the most annoying thing about myself.
Your memory's not as strong as you like.
It comes up so often. Yeah. Just like, people show up to a gig and I just don't remember them until like 5 minutes into the conversation when it's way too late socially to have I wish I had that recall. And I don't even mean like like some people are crazy good at it. I feel like I'm below average. Like I just genuinely, I think I'm inside my head too much, or I don't know. I think it happens, like the problem happens at the beginning. Like it's not about memory. It's about like setting the memory in the first place, like something to do with like being in the moment and like really living the moment somehow and like documenting that in mind. And I don't know. Like I was a very shy kid, and I just didn't develop some of those social muscles to meet someone, have a connection with them, remember them, and then like lock that memory away. And it's not good.
It's funny you say that, man. I was in the gym this morning, and I hadn't trained at this particular gym in a while, but there was a guy there that I was really, good gym buddies with, and I saw him, and I'm like, fuck, I forgot his name. And I was like hoping to God, like he's a really great guy, and I felt bad, so I had to avoid him because I was like, oh my God. And then I ran into him, and like somehow the universe put his name in my head, like the same breath. I was so happy because he's a really nice guy, and I would have felt horrible, like, dude.
Oh yeah. I so many times that I have to just default to like, hey man, or hey dude, because and most of the time I know that I kind of knew their name, but I wasn't sure. But like I've called people by the wrong name because I was like, I think this is their name. And that is so much worse that it's not. It is worse.
You're better off sticking with dude or man or yo or something. That's so awful. And it's not as awful for them as it is for you, because you just feel like, at least me, I feel like this big when that happens. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah,
it sucks, especially if you've met them a couple of times. Like there's been a couple moments in my life where someone's been like, yeah, we've talked before, like a couple times. And I'm just like, wow. Especially after a gig, I don't know, like, you talk to a lot of people after gigs, and I mean, this is a good problem to have, obviously, but like, especially in the last few years, like there'll be a pretty good number of people at Snarky Puppy gigs, and even at some of the other bands that I play with. So it's like, talk to a lot of people, and they're not, sometimes not even just fans, like someone who like I should remember, like this guy plays drums in this city and is really cool, and I should remember him the next time I see him, and I just don't, and it sucks. I think that's like, whatever that gene is, or I don't know if it's nature or nurture, but whatever that thing is that like, I think that actually is like, a part of what it like sort of Mike League's like combination of factors that makes him like a really successful person is like, he has that. And I'm sure he would say that he doesn't. I think he's told me that he thinks he has a bad memory, but like I've seen him do like that. Like he really does remember people and like what they do and where they come from. And he's got that. And I think that's actually like really important to life and being a a successful person. So yeah, if I could wave a wand and do that, I would do it.
There you go. You got to write an app.
Gotta
put a memory app together, man. Memory app training. That's a big niche, by the way.
It would just sense that there's a person next to you, and it would shock you. It would have a super strong shock thing. So it would just kind of zap you into attention.
Or else you could just take pictures of absolutely everybody you meet and put them in with their phone number or something. I don't know, man. That seems cumbersome, but
yeah. No, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Hey, what's a perfect day for you?
I mean, I feel like my sort of imaginary fantasy perfect day is some version of hanging out with my wife at home, really just doing that. I've thought about this before somehow, if you have to go to bed, it's just try to fall asleep or something. You imagine, at least for me, I imagine something really great. I don't know why that helps, but yeah, I just imagine waking up, nothing to do that day. You for some reason it doesn't really make sense, but I think because this happened one time and it ended up being a really good day. We folded laundry at the beginning of the day.
Sure.
And something about I'm a workaholic, so I think just getting some some productivity done early on in the day makes me feel really good for the rest of the day. I'm yeah, I did my homework. I can do whatever I want now.
Yeah.
So that, you fold some laundry, and and then you just make some food, and then play music together, because we do that sometimes. We
your wife's a musician?
Play, sort of. I mean, she wouldn't say that she is, but she can sing and likes music, and she plays some ukulele and some piano. So we've done music time, man, sometimes where I'll I play different instruments like drums, piano, guitar, whatever. It doesn't matter. You play either make up dumb songs or play Alanis Morissette songs or some covers that no one ever plays, ridiculous covers. So I had this sort of fantasy that we would be in a wedding band, but on our own terms. Where it's a way to make money.
We're playing our music, not your music.
Yeah. You just go. Yeah, it's just the two of us, and somehow we make that work. And it's we just go and play all the covers that we want to play. I don't know, Toto and Alanis Morissette and whatever weird stuff would be fun to play.
We're playing something off the Sex Pistols
maybe
first album. That's cool.
Sure. Man. Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
The Clash.
Good that you like spending time with your wife. That's important. 7 years into it, man. Because if you don't, at this point, the future's not very rosy, brother.
Yeah. Well, I'm only in town half the time, so I guess the good part of that is you develop a strong enjoyment for the time that you do have at home.
Yeah. Musicians are some of the happiest married people I know. Now, I know a lot of guys listen to this saying, "Oh man, I got divorced," and there's plenty of that. But overall, I find, having come out of the business world and meeting tons of guys, that musicians are much more enthusiastic about their relationships. And I know some of it is a gratitude, because if you have a spouse or a partner that understands, hey, I'm out of town half the time or 3/4 of the time, and is willing to allow you to do that and still,
right,
participate with you fully as a partner, spouse, whatever, there's a gratitude for that. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it for sure. Yeah. She would have to she has so much leeway basically, because I'm out of town so much. All right, well, you'd have to be a real pain in the ass for me to if you're only gonna be somewhat demanding every once in a while, that's pretty much the least I can do.
Yeah.
Give you that.
Yeah, totally, man. Hey, do you have any hobby?
She's awesome.
Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say she studied art in school, so I think that helps with the whole, understanding where the artistic, obviously where an artistic mind would be coming from. If I'm well, I have to go out of town for half of my life.
You need
you need to make
doesn't
sure
you
love that, but understands it.
You need to make sure you play this interview. This is going to be worth like some good brownie points, man.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to make sure she hears it. but doesn't hear this part. This part.
Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
I mean, basically that and programming and politics. But that's just like for my own, I don't do anything. I'm not like an activist because I'm lazy, but I definitely have
wait a minute.
I have a strong interest.
How do you say you're lazy? You got like 7 active projects going on.
I know, but I'm a workaholic, so it's really self-interest. It's really doing what I want all the time.
But that doesn't negate that you have 7 projects going on. So I don't know that lazy is like. I don't think there's anything wrong with self-interest. Thank God that you could have self-interested like sort of business projects, man. How cool is that? But I wouldn't say I agree. You're lazy.
I think there's good selfishness, definitely. But I do think that if I was like, I think that if I was willing to sacrifice stuff that I wanted to do to like go be a political activist person, then that would make me technically that would make me a better person.
I don't.
Even though it might not be like technically it might not be more work, but it would be like an actual sacrifice,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't ascribe to that theory. I think if you're happy and you do things that make you happy and it's not at someone else's expense, and you're a really good person. Because I think when people are dicks is when they're not happy, and that causes just so much stress.
Oh, that's true.
I think if
people out on everyone else around them,
it's just they're assholes. I mean, when people are happy, like they don't bother anybody. They're kind, they're helpful. I mean, it's just like
true.
So I think happiness is underrated. I think people need to have more of that.
That makes a lot of sense. I totally agree.
Toughest decision you ever had to make, or hardest thing you ever had to do?
I really wanted to move to New York like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and my wife and I really seriously thought about it, went up there, started looking at places, and really considered it from every angle, and decided that it was just too damn expensive, basically. Yeah. And part of that too was that I think that if it were 10 years ago and I didn't have kind of like the work that I have and the connections that I have, it would be kind of a necessity. It'd be like, well, it doesn't matter how expensive it is, how hard it is, I have to do it, or else I'm not going to succeed. Or at least that's the mentality that has existed before. I actually think that's probably changing. So I'm hearing more and more from friends that they want to move away from New York, and it's just, it really is just too expensive. It doesn't cater to people that want to do art, want to do things. It's crazy. And
I'm from there. It's not a forgiving place. It's just like everything is hard to get around. It's a very busy place.
I know. That's also part of it. It's kind of like if you aren't willing to do all that, then you kind of don't make the cut, which is cool. In a way, that is a necessary part of it. So maybe that's just, that's the way it always has been. That's the way it always will be. But I also feel like there's maybe something happening lately where more, it's kind of like the rich getting richer, poor getting poorer kind of thing is maybe even getting a little bit worse, at least for now.
Yeah.
And it might just be a little bit harder than it used to be to just be there and work on shit if you want to.
Oh, it's incredibly hard. It's impossible. I mean, even now, Brooklyn was the panacea to people that want to live in the city 10 years ago. And now Brooklyn is super pricey, very gentrified. And it's where do you go next? Now, I grew up in the Bronx. Nobody goes there. Yeah, for some reason.
Right. I guess that's the place you can go to now if you want to. It's the next Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know,
but it's a tough place.
But that was kind of a tough call, but because I really had it in my mind that that's what I was going to do with my life. But I just don't think that I don't think it's in the cards. I don't think it needs to be, actually. Who knows? Depends on what situations present themselves, but man, it feels like for now it's going to be Texas,
And you could always go up there and stay for a month in an Airbnb or something like that and figure it out.
Oh yeah,
which is easy enough.
That's the thing is I kind of do that anyway. I've done 2 musicals there, so I basically like spent 3 months pretending like I lived there. And,
oh wow.
I occasionally do that anyway. Go up there for a week for recordings or whatever. So, I like to pretend like I live there. I like people to be surprised that I don't. Yeah, no, totally. Just keep calling me. I'll make my way up there.
That's awesome, man. I'm going up there in a couple months. I love going there. It's just the energy is like infectious, man.
Yeah, it really is.
It's just, that vibe is just awesome. It's addictive, man. Hey,
totally.
Two questions, Chris, and I can't thank you enough for your time. This has been real fun and very interesting. Most embarrassing or funniest thing that's ever happened to you on stage or in the studio?
I had a pretty embarrassing one on, it might have been the last Snarky Puppy gig that I played, or most recent Snarky Puppy gig that I played. We got up there, and I had the way that I had my pedal board set up was like for the most efficient use of space. So I like had the tuner under the pedal, and I got this pedal board that has like holes in it.
The Holy Board. Like, the Holy Board?
No, this one's called, it's by Temple Audio.
Okay.
It's like this special one that it doesn't use Velcro. It uses these sort of like plates that you put on the back of pedals, and then you screw them in from under on this grid that has holes. So like, yeah, so I like set the tuner up so that you could see it through the holes, but like not really. Like you kind of could. You could see parts of it, but not every part of it. So I tuned up without really being able to hear the guitar, and I tuned the entire thing a half step down. So we start the very first song, and I come in with a strong, confident chord with the rest of the band, and I'm a half step too low.
Oh, you were the only one who was a half step down. I thought everybody was a half step down.
No, just me. And making it even worse, I think Justin Stanton was playing Rhodes or some kind of keyboard, and he was coming. It's like a minor chord, and he like A minor, and he came in on like an A minor, like Phrygian, just to like do something interesting. And I was playing A flat minor, so it was like A flat minor, A minor, and B flat. It was like so many bad things happening all at the same time. It was it was like really, really uncomfortable 10 seconds of figuring that out and then trying to tune as fast as possible. Oh yeah, and then I had to play the melody. I think I didn't get to tune it, so I think I played the whole melody up a half step, which was also really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And then finally got to tune again.
Wow.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks messing up on Snarky Puppy stage because the other guys are not gonna hesitate to give you shit. And like at this point, in front of a big audience, most of which know the songs or could even play them, and will probably put some YouTube comment on, like calling you out or something. Like there's so much more pressure now than 5 years ago, and it's just like, who gives a fuck? Like nobody's here. Just play what you want.
Man, if people, everybody makes mistakes too. I mean, that's just like, it's statistically impossible not to make a mistake,
Totally. So. I'm sure there's people that would be happy to hear you make a mistake too, because they're like, at least I'm not alone, or it's cool. It's kind of cool to hear people that you respect make mistakes, so it's
live.
I
think so. Yeah. And there's always going to be the people who are like trolls, but don't pay any attention to them, man.
No, I try never to. I've read YouTube comments like twice in my life, and I've always regretted it. Like it really, like it bums me out for 48 hours. Like even though you're like, it doesn't matter, who cares? Like you can't get it out of your brain. So yeah, I really try not to ever look at them.
I had an interview, and we post on YouTube just the audio, and somebody left a comment of, I can't believe the interviewer, what an idiot, because I interviewed a country person. He goes, and I can't believe he didn't ask him about this experience. He knows nothing about country music, clearly. So I responded. Right. I said, hey, thank you very much for listening. You are 100% right. I said, I do not know anything. I don't know anything about country music. I said, that's clearly my weakness. I said, country and probably jazz is second. I said, I said, it's impossible for me. I'm interviewing guys in so many different genres. I can't know about all this. I mean, I haven't spent my life only studying music, and even then I wouldn't know everything, right? And I said, I said, grin and bear it. I said, better times are coming, something like that. He was 100%.
That's a good approach. I like that. It's so much better than trying to like argue or
oh my god,
whatever.
I would never argue with anybody like that. I like really try to keep my stress level down, and arguing like okay, then where's that going to go? He's going to give me he was right. I mean, what am I going to do? Say, hey,
yeah,
and he has a right to his opinion, just because I don't, may not be a quote nice, it was accurate. I was like, so
yeah.
And it was
that's good. That's a good attitude. I'm gonna embrace that.
Yeah, it was just like.
I mean, I try not to argue. I try not to argue either. But it's sometimes when someone points out like a weakness that you. I mean, that's actually really, really admirable that you like have that approach, because I feel like personally, when someone points out a weakness that I also feel that I have, it's like such a cutting jab. You're like, it's hard for me to get over right away. But yeah, that's a really good attitude. Just like, well, that's what it is. Like, it's real, and I need to work on that. And yeah, there it is.
She's 100% right, man. I couldn't, I got tons of weaknesses. Believe me, you could have spent a month on there with weaknesses. So, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
And last question, Chris, biggest change in your personality over the last, 7 to 10 years, and how much of this change has been deliberate and how much is just a part of aging?
I think that I have taught myself to be less shy, and going along with that, I've taught myself to say what I feel more often.
Good for you.
So I think that well, getting there, definitely not there yet. I fortunately married someone who is completely different from me in that respect. And like some of the stuff we were talking about before, like I was raised in this very like independent way, which has its pros and cons. And my wife's family is like the opposite. They're all like up in each other's business all the time. Like her dad told her how to do literally everything, like made her cry because he wouldn't let her like divide remainders the way that she wanted to when she was like 7 or whatever it is.
God.
All these like
dad's got some control issues, man.
Yeah, like overly,
good Lord,
sort of like controlling. So like, and they've worked through all of that. Like if they're listening right now,
you control freak.
They've worked through all of that, and they are amazing, and I love them so much. Like we love them so much, and we're totally close to them. But
until this interview airs.
Until this interview airs, oh my gosh, no. Like I really, more than anything, what I figured out is that like there are so many different ways to be, and there really are like good and bad parts of all of those ways, which sounds dumb. I mean, it's like kind of obvious, but
it's true.
I think 10 years ago was about when my wife and I first started dating, and I was like really in this mindset of like, this is the right way to be. This is right. And like, we had a lot of struggle because of that. So, and that played out in my professional life too. I was really thin skinned, and I had a hard time taking criticism, but I also had a hard time like telling people what I really felt. It was kind of like this keep the peace, don't rock the boat thing. So that was really purposeful, like trying to figure out how to like just kind of like accept other perspectives, both from other people and from myself talking to other people. Like if I have an opinion about something, it's okay for me to say it. If I feel a certain way about something, and if someone else feels a certain way about something, it's okay for them to tell me. It's, because I used to have this attitude. I didn't want to, but I just had this attitude of like, don't tell me how I'm supposed to do a thing, or don't tell me about myself,
Sure.
So I think I've, hopefully gotten a lot better about that. And, yeah. And I, basically have my wife to thank for that.
Good for you, man.
And also some other friends, some very close friends that kind of helped me shake it loose a little bit.
Good for you, man. I'm really happy you got to do that. You know what? I learned something once about that, and it was really helpful to me. I'll share it with you. Maybe it'll find a place for you somewhere. I had a family member that had some drug issues, and I went to Naranon for a couple of meetings. And there's a book there that they read stuff from. And man, I was so grateful to get this message, and it was the right time because I was ready to hear this. They opened the missive of the day, and it started like this. It said, "What's so important about being right?" And I sat there and I didn't even hear the rest of it. And I was like, and I think I was ready in my life to hear that, because I was like, you know what? This is so fucking accurate. What is so important? Like, what is so nothing? And it was almost like pushing a button. Ever since when I heard that, there's never been a thorn in a bone of contention with my wife and I just don't care about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool when you're in the, like you say, you're in the right exact moment, and someone just says the code word of the things that you need to hear.
Yeah.
To make that make sense, and you're like, cool.
Yeah.
It's not even a difficult thing. I just get that.
It was just awesome. I felt so lucky. Not then, but later, years later, I said, man, thank God I was there, because I needed to hear that, and it really did have a big, profound impact on my life. And it, like I said, because I'm trying to, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, really not have any stress. And I'm like, that is a major, useless, stressful thing. I need to dismiss that immediately. Even with myself, be more kinder to myself. Okay, I didn't get it. Okay, fine. I'll bounce back, whatever it was, and there's few things that are that serious that it's you got to bounce back. But, and if it was, I'll be okay, I'll be fine. So I don't know if that helped you. Maybe.
That is awesome. Yeah. I absolutely try to make myself care about the things that matter and not care about the things that don't matter more and more all the time, and feel as little stress as possible. Because, just things aren't worth it.
Hell no.
It's not worth being stressed.
No. Chris, I can't thank you enough for your time. Let me tell people where to find you. Honestly, man, you're a real sweet guy, and I appreciate it. And you're doing great on your breaking through for shy stuff, man. You did it fucking excellent. Seriously, man. Okay, a few things, aren't we all? You got a new Forq album, Forq. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we put out our third album. It's called Freak, and CHRE with a line over it. Q. Q or K? I don't even know. I think we have a thing with weird names and spellings.
That's
so
great.
It's the third album, so it's 3, but it has to be Freak because it's the band Forq.
Absolutely, man. I wouldn't expect it any other way.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's got it has everyone in the band wrote music for it. That Mike League was in the band at that point. Now Kevin Scott's playing bass with us because Mike League's 5 million projects.
Yeah.
But so he's on that album, and so we all wrote music for it, and I think it's cool. I think people dig it. It's like a genre blending weird fest.
Great stuff. And it's Kevin Scott, you, JT, Thomas. Who else?
Mm-hmm. And Henry Hay. Henry Hay on keyboard.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we're going to go record another album later this year. And yeah, like I said before, Snarky Puppy recorded an album that should be coming out, I think, early next year sometime.
Awesome.
And Bokante has a new album coming out very shortly. I think sometime this month. And there's a music video for the single out. And
for info on Bokante, which is Bokante, and for Forq, which is Forq, go to Ground Up Music. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And your app, check out Chris's app. It's called Guitar Note Atlas, and it's on Apple, and it'll be available on Android real soon. And you also have an acoustic duo with Matt Reed, Read.
Yes, we have an album called Western Theater. Theater spelled the old-fashioned way. And that's music that he and I wrote together over the course of last year and recorded. And we've done a few concerts just around Texas, Dallas, and Austin, and then done some masterclass stuff. So we're actually doing a clinic for anyone listening who's going to be in Austin. Matt and I are doing a clinic actually a week from today.
This won't be out by then.
Oh, right.
Sorry, man. Sorry. Is there anything? Where can they? No, it's cool. Where can they find out when you're doing your other clinics? What website would they go to?
That would be my website, chrismcqueen.com.
Great, and it's McQueen, McQueen, just like it sounds.
Just like Steve.
Just like Steve. Are you, any relation? That guy was a badass, man.
No, unfortunately, I don't think so. But I wish.
What a badass! That guy could fart, and it would be like just fucking cool, you know. And then also, I was really pleasantly surprised for everybody. You give lessons in Skype lessons, and if you're in the Austin area, in person. So if you're interested in taking lessons from Chris, go to his website at chrismcqueen.com and contact him from his website and let him know. And phenomenal guitar player. If you haven't heard him. Okay.
You can also just email Chris at chrismcqueen.com.
Awesome. There you go. And Snarky Puppy, of course. Are you guys touring?
Yeah.
I mean, like the States?
Yeah. We will be next year. So I think the rest of the year is basically off. But once the album comes out, we're going to be hitting it like super hard next year.
That's awesome. Any chance you're coming to Florida? Nobody ever comes to Florida.
I'm sure we will. I mean, the Ground Up Festival will be happening in Miami.
Oh, that would be great, man, if you guys could do. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yes.
You can make your way for that. I mean, that really is like, the cool thing about that festival is that Mike and the other people that are in charge of it, basically, like, because we've played so many festivals in our band's few years of kind of doing that circuit, he kind of cataloged like, okay, here are the things that I don't like about festivals, and here's the things that I do like. And so basically just like made what in his mind or what their mind would be like the perfect festival. And I think, they've done a really good job. Like there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and it's been pretty great. I was actually like very impressed with how well everything went off. But it's so cool. It's like, so basically it's like 3 days and everyone is just there hanging out, and it's not, there's only 2 stages and they don't compete with each other.
Oh, that's
one
really
plays
cool.
While the other one sets up.
Wow. So what a good idea.
Yeah. It's a very homey vibe. You don't feel like you have to like miss this thing or go like get your wristband and go check out this other thing and sign into something. You're just there. You wander between one stage or the other. And like all of the artists are also just hanging out. It's not like hopefully the vibe doesn't change, over time. But I feel like the vibe right now is basically like the people that go there are like kind of down. They're not going to be like super, they're there for the right reasons somehow. Like they're not going to bother artists like so much. So the artists like have this feeling of like, okay, cool, I can just hang out and I don't have to like go hide away in the backstage area. So it's got this very like communal spirit. It's
very cool. And it's the Ground Up Festival in Miami in February. So check that out as well, everybody. Chris, I can't thank you enough, man. It's been a real pleasure. You're a really sweet guy, very genuine. I appreciate all the, everything you talked about. And thanks for being so cool and straight up.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We certainly appreciate your support. Thanks again to Chris McQueen for spending all this time with us. I appreciate it. And the birds are back, so the rainstorm must be over. Make sure you go to the homepage of everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list, and you'll get advance notice of guests coming on the show and the opportunity to ask them questions. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.